What if I told you that a Roman emperor who lived 2,000 years ago, fighting wars, facing plagues, and dealing with betrayal, already figured out the solution to your anxiety in 2025? And what if the answer isn't in your phone, your therapist's office, or that meditation app you downloaded and never opened? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, I'm going to reveal the one Stoic principle that literally changed everything for me. And it's probably not what you think. Let's be honest, you're exhausted, aren't you? Every morning you wake up and before your feet even hit the floor, you're already scrolling. Notifications, news alerts, messages. Someone's success on Instagram, another crisis trending on Twitter. The algorithm feeding you content designed to trigger you, to make you feel like you're not enough, like you're missing out, like the world is ending. And here's the cruel irony. We have more information than any generation in human history, yet we've never been more confused. We have more ways to connect, yet we've never felt more alone. Studies show that anxiety disorders have skyrocketed. Nearly 40% of people report feeling anxious most days. The World Health Organization calls it an epidemic. But here's what nobody's talking about. It's not just about having anxiety. It's about how we're trying to cope with it. We scroll endlessly, hoping the next video will finally make us feel better. We binge-watch shows to numb out. We chase instant gratification, fast food, fast shopping, fast everything, because we can't sit with discomfort for even 5 seconds. But what if I told you these coping mechanisms aren't just failing, they're actually making it worse? Think about it. Every time you reach for your phone to escape anxiety, you're training your brain that you can't handle reality. You're reinforcing the very pattern that's destroying your peace. So the question isn't, why am I anxious? The question is there a better, more sustainable way to find calm amidst this chaos? And this is where Marcus Aurelius enters the conversation. Now, before I tell you the exact principle that turned my life around, and I promise we're getting there, you need to understand something about Marcus Aurelius that nobody talks about. Picture this. You're the emperor of Rome. Sounds amazing, right? Power, wealth, influence. But here's the reality Marcus faced. His empire was crumbling. Plague swept through Rome, killing millions. Barbarian tribes attacked the borders constantly. His own generals betrayed him. His wife was rumored to be unfaithful. His son, Commodus, was a disappointment who would later destroy everything Marcus built. And unlike you, Marcus couldn't just turn off notifications. He couldn't resign. He couldn't take a mental health day. He was literally responsible for the entire known world, and everything was falling apart. Sound familiar? Maybe you're not an emperor, but you're managing your career, your relationships, your finances, your health, all while the news screams at you about climate change, political chaos, economic uncertainty. You might not have barbarians at your gates, but you have deadlines, bills, difficult people, and a future that feels increasingly unpredictable. And here's what's incredible. Marcus Aurelius didn't have therapists, didn't have self-help books, didn't have YouTube videos to watch at 2 a.m. when he couldn't sleep. What he had was a journal. And in that journal, now known as Meditations, he wrote down his thoughts, reminders, and principles. Not for publication, not for anyone else, just for himself. To survive. And those writings? They became the blueprint for handling anxiety that works better than anything modern psychology has come up with. Let me explain why. The fundamental insight of Stoicism is so simple it sounds stupid, but listen carefully because this is the key to everything. There are things you can control and things you can't. Focus on only what you control. I know. You're thinking, that's it? That's the big secret? But wait, because when you actually understand this and apply it, everything changes. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Let me break this down. What can you actually control? Your thoughts, your reactions, your effort, your character, your choices in this present moment. That's it. That's the list. What can't you control? Other people's opinions, the economy, the weather, traffic, your past, whether someone texts you back, whether you get that promotion, whether your post goes viral, what your mother-in-law thinks of you, global politics, the stock market, literally everything else. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part that changed my life. Most of your anxiety comes from trying to control things you can't control. Think about it. You're anxious about what people think of you. Can you control what they think? No. You're anxious about the future. Can you control the future? No. You're anxious about whether you'll succeed. Can you control outcomes? No. You can only control your effort. The moment you truly accept this, not just intellectually, but viscerally, you experience this profound sense of freedom. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher and former slave, put it even more bluntly. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Let me give you a modern example that'll make this click. Imagine you send an important email to your boss. Maybe it's a proposal you worked on for weeks. Maybe it's asking for a raise. You hit send, and immediately your mind goes crazy. Did I say the right thing? Will they think I'm too aggressive, too passive? What if they hate it? What if they fire me? What if... Stop. Right there. That's anxiety. And here's the Stoic question. Can you control what your boss thinks? No. The email is sent. It's done. It's outside your control now. What you can control is this. You wrote the best email you could with the information you had. You were honest. You made your case clearly. That's all within your power. You did your part. The Stoic move here is radical acceptance. You say to yourself, I controlled what I could control. The outcome is now beyond me. Whatever happens, I'll deal with it when it happens. And something remarkable happens. The anxiety dissolves. Not because the outcome changed, but because you stopped fighting with reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And this brings me to the practical tools you can use starting today. Remember I promised to tell you the one principle that changed everything for me? And this is the obstacle is the way. Every single thing you're anxious about, that's your training ground. That difficult conversation, that's where you build courage. That failure, that's where you build resilience. That uncertainty, that's where you build wisdom. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me give you the actual tools to make this real in your life.
Tool number 1, the dichotomy of control. Every time you feel anxious, stop and ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, take action, plan, execute, do your best. If no, let it go, completely. Redirect your energy to what you can control. Here's a trick. Make 2 columns, in my control and not in my control. Write down everything causing you anxiety. Then cross out everything in the not in my control column. Just cross it out. You're done worrying about it. Sounds simple, right? But it's devastatingly effective. Tool number 2, negative visualization. Now this one is going to sound dark, but stay with me. The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. Every morning you spend a few minutes imagining the worst things that could happen. You could lose your job. Your relationship could end. You could get sick. People you love could die. Why would you do this? Doesn't that make you more anxious? Actually, no. It does the opposite. Here's why. First, it makes you appreciate what you have right now. When you imagine losing your partner, you suddenly feel more grateful they're in your life. You stop taking them for granted. Second, it prepares you. When something bad actually happens, and it will, you're not blindsided. You've already mentally rehearsed how you'll respond. You've already decided to face it with courage and grace. Marcus Aurelius did this constantly. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." Sounds pessimistic, right? But here's the plot twist. By expecting the worst, Marcus wasn't being negative. He was being realistic. He was protecting his peace. When people actually were difficult, he wasn't surprised or disappointed. He was prepared. And when things went well, bonus. Everything better than the worst-case scenario becomes a gift. Tool number 3, Amor Fati, love your fate. This is the most advanced Stoic concept, and it's absolutely beautiful. Amor Fati means love of fate. It means embracing everything that happens to you, good or bad, as necessary, as perfect, as exactly what you needed. Nietzsche, who was heavily influenced by the Stoics, wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." Think about that. Not wanting anything to be different, not even the painful stuff, not even the traumas, the failures, the losses. Now, I can hear your objection, but terrible things happen. How can I love abuse or tragedy or injustice? And you're right to push back. Amor Fati doesn't mean accepting injustice without fighting it. It doesn't mean becoming passive. It means this. Once something has happened, once it's in the past, resisting it only creates suffering. Fighting with reality is like arguing with gravity. You lose every time. Amor Fati means saying, this happened, I can't change that it happened, but I can decide what it means. I can decide who I become because of it. Marcus faced plagues, betrayals, wars, and a son who would destroy his legacy. And he wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny for what could more aptly fit your needs." He chose to see even his suffering as perfectly designed to make him stronger, wiser, more compassionate. And here's the thing. When you adopt this mindset, anxiety loses its power because anxiety is always about resisting what might happen or what has happened. When you stop resisting, you become unstoppable. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but how do I actually practice this? How do I turn philosophy into something I do every single day? I'm going to give you a daily routine that takes 15 minutes. But before I do, I need to tell you something nobody else will admit. Stoicism is not a magic pill. It's not a hack. It's not a quick fix for your anxiety. It's training, like going to the gym. The first time you try to meditate on the dichotomy of control, your mind will wander. You'll forget to apply it when you're triggered. You'll fall back into old patterns. And that's okay. That's normal. Marcus Aurelius was literally reminding himself of these principles every single day in his journal because even he, the emperor, the philosopher, struggled to remember them in the heat of the moment. The difference between people who transform through Stoicism and people who just read about it and do nothing? Consistency over intensity. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to practice a little bit every single day. Here's your daily Stoic practice. Do this for 30 days and I promise you'll notice a difference. Morning practice, 5 minutes. 1. Negative visualization. Spend 2 minutes imagining what could go wrong today, not to catastrophize, but to prepare. Then, feel grateful for what you have right now. 2. Set your intention. Ask yourself, what virtue will I practice today? Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's courage. Maybe it's honesty. Pick one. 3. Affirm the dichotomy of control. Remind yourself that you only control your thoughts, actions, and reactions. Everything else is outside your power. Evening practice, 10 minutes. 1. Stoic journaling. Write down what happened today. What challenged you? How did you respond? Where did you succeed in applying Stoic principles? Where did you fail? Marcus wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." 2. Review your virtue. Did you practice the virtue you intended? If not, why? No judgment, just observation. 3. Practice gratitude. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. This trains your mind to notice the good even on hard days. During the day, here's the most powerful practice. When something triggers anxiety, pause. Literally stop what you're doing for 10 seconds. Ask yourself, is this in my control? If yes, take action. If no, let it go and redirect your focus. That's it, 10 seconds. But those 10 seconds, repeated consistently, will rewire your brain. Once a week, do a deeper negative visualization exercise.
Imagine losing something you value. Really sit with it. Feel the loss. Then ask yourself, how would I respond? What would I do? Who would I become? Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." By confronting your fears in your imagination, you prove to yourself that you could handle them, and paradoxically, this makes you less afraid. I remember doing this exercise about losing my job. I imagined the worst, being fired, running out of money, having to move, and then I asked, could I survive this? The answer was yes. I'd be okay. I'd figure it out. And suddenly, my anxiety about work performance disappeared, because I realized even the worst-case scenario is survivable. Here's something that's going to sound crazy. Anxiety is not the problem. I know that contradicts everything this video has been about, but listen carefully. Anxiety is information. It's your nervous system trying to protect you. The problem isn't anxiety itself, it's how you relate to it. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years ago. They didn't try to eliminate difficult emotions, they tried to understand them, accept them, and then choose how to respond. Marcus wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Read that again. Hear that again. The pain isn't the external thing. It's your judgment about it. This is liberating because it means you're not broken. Your anxiety doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you're human. You're alive. You care about things. The Stoic move is to say, I feel anxious. That's okay. That's just a sensation in my body, a thought in my mind. It doesn't control me. I can feel it and still choose my response. This is the opposite of toxic positivity. You're not pretending everything is fine. You're acknowledging reality, including your difficult emotions, and then deciding what to do about it. I can hear some of you thinking, this all sounds great, but doesn't Stoicism make you emotionless, cold, detached? This is the biggest misconception about Stoicism, and I need to clear it up. Stoics feel emotions deeply. Marcus loved his wife. He grieved his children who died young. He felt fear before battles. The difference is that Stoics don't let emotions control their decisions. They feel the feeling, acknowledge it, and then ask, what's the wise thing to do here? There's a difference between being emotionally reactive and being emotionally responsive. Reactive is someone insults you and you immediately lash out. Responsive is someone insults you, you feel the anger, you notice it, then you decide whether responding is useful or not. That's not being cold. That's being powerful. That's being free. Seneca wrote, "The best indicator of a person's philosophy is not what they say, but how they react to events." Your philosophy, your way of life, is revealed in your reactions. Stoicism gives you the space between stimulus and response. That space is your freedom. So, let's bring this home. You live today. You face challenges Marcus Aurelius never imagined. Smartphones, social media, global pandemics, climate anxiety, political polarization, economic uncertainty, the constant pressure to perform, to produce, to present a perfect version of yourself online. Seriously, you also face the same fundamental human challenges Marcus faced: mortality, loss, failure, difficult people, uncertainty about the future. And here's the beautiful truth. The same principles that helped him navigate a collapsing empire can help you navigate your overwhelming modern life. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to become some enlightened sage. You just need to practice. Start small. Pick one principle. Maybe it's the dichotomy of control. This week, every time you feel anxious, ask, "Is this in my control?" Maybe it's Amor Fati. This week, when something frustrating happens, say, "This is exactly what I needed to grow." Maybe it's negative visualization. This week, spend 2 minutes every morning imagining loss, then feeling grateful for what you have. Pick one. Practice it for 7 days. See what happens. And here's what I've learned from years of practicing Stoicism. It doesn't eliminate anxiety, but it changes your relationship with it. You stop seeing anxiety as this monster you need to defeat. You start seeing it as weather. It comes, it goes, and you remain steady through it all. Marcus wrote something beautiful near the end of his life. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Your life is what your thoughts make it. Not what happens to you, not what others do, your thoughts, your choices, your responses. And that's actually incredible news, because it means you have more power than you ever realized. Here's the final truth I want you to remember. Peace is not found in having a perfect life. It's not found in controlling everything around you. It's not found in eliminating all difficulty. Peace is found in accepting what is, while doing your best with what's in your control. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but he died in a military camp, sick and exhausted. His life wasn't perfect. He didn't solve all his problems. He didn't achieve total peace. But he found something better: equanimity. The ability to face whatever life threw at him with grace, courage, and wisdom. And here's what gives me hope. If Marcus could do it, facing war, plague, betrayal, and the collapse of everything he loved, then you can do it too. Your anxiety is valid. Your struggles are real. But you're stronger than you think. You have within you everything you need to navigate this chaotic, beautiful, difficult life. All you need to do is practice. Start today. Start now. Start with one principle. And remember what Marcus wrote in his darkest hour. You have survived 100% of your worst days so far. You're doing great. Actually, Marcus didn't write that last one. That's modern. But he would have approved. So here's my challenge to you. Leave a comment below and tell me which Stoic principle you're going to practice this week. Share your experience. Let's build a community of people choosing resilience over anxiety, wisdom over worry, courage over fear. And if you got value from this video, hit that subscribe button, because I'm creating more content on applying ancient wisdom to modern problems. Let's do this together. Now go practice. The world needs more Stoics, and you're already on your way.